And as Peter's got back, good evening, everybody. Matt Geary here for the Geek Pridecast on this Sunday evening. Merry Christmas, everybody. This is the final podcast for us for 2021, as it will be Boxing Day next Sunday, and therefore probably be slightly inebriated, and the next Sunday after that's going to be New Year, so this is going to be our last podcast. So with me tonight, no guest, it's just the usual faces. So we have Peter Ellison.
Good evening, everyone.
And Mark Canty.
Hail.
Right, gentlemen, what's the plans? What do you got planned for Christmas? What's the score?
Keeping the kitties from killing each other. No, seriously, no, just basically spend as much time as we can with the family. Obviously, it's like, Christmas is all about kids, so keeping them entertained and occupied and having fun and trying to keep it as normal as possible given all the COVID restrictions that will potentially be in place. So, fingers crossed, everyone.
What's the Christmas jumper you got on there, Pete?
This is the Nakatomi Corporation Christmas Party 1988.
I'm wearing my Winter is Coming Stark one on a Christmas
Very
hat.
good.
I don't own a Christmas jumper, so I'm just the awkward bugger in the corner.
Oh,
No, I am the one that wears this on every Christmas. In front of the grandparents and parents, and they'd scratch their head going,
But you didn't work at a company called Nakatomi.
yeah, just not getting it.
Yeah, completely over their heads. They just kind of smile and just go, that's a nice jumper, Peter. Like, yeah.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Or they just turn around you and go, Die Hard is not a Christmas film.
Then we will have words. A tradition of the Allison family household is every Christmas Eve we wrap presents whilst watching Die Hard.
So what do we watch usually before? We don't have one for Christmas Eve, but Christmas Day we always have to watch A Christmas Story. Have you ever seen A Christmas Story?
Yeah,
the one about the little boy with the BB gun. See,
nope.
This is weird, right? Because if you're in America, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're listening to this, and our friends in America, if you're listening to this, you'll know what I'm talking about. The Christmas Story is a staple over there. But every time I talk to somebody over here about A Christmas Story, which we've been watching it in our family for like forever. I just assumed that everybody saw this film and stuff. Right? Nope. If you've not watched it, and I remember saying it at work, people are, I don't know what you're talking about. Watch it. It's sort of based, the kid who's in it, the main kid who's in it, right? If you've ever watched the new Elf film, one of the elves has him in it. It's based in the 50s. It's basically about a little boy called Ralphie and his family, and it's leading up to Christmas, and it's him basically narrating his Christmas, and he wants what they call a Red Ryder BB gun, and he wants a Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas, and that's all he wants. And it's about him talking to himself and how he's going to get this off his parents, and he's like planting sort of like magazines in his mum's sort of kind of magazine rack so they can see these Red Ryder BB gun, and he writes to Santa to have a BB gun, and every time he says this, his parents go, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid." And it's just like, it's such a good film. It's so funny. It's got so many iconic moments. Like, everybody in America will know what I'm talking about, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be a big thing in the UK. And I would urge you all, if you've not seen A Christmas Story, it's amazing. Watch it. It's so funny, and it's just so good. It's such a feel-good film as well. It's just, I promise you, like, if you've ever seen like memes of like a lamp, which is like a leg, a woman's leg with a lampshade on top of it, that comes from A Christmas Story. So it's like, it's such a good film. It's you should definitely watch it. If you haven't watched A Christmas Story this year, and put it on your list, it's going to be on Sky, or it'll be on Amazon or Netflix. Probably it'll be on some streaming platform. You can watch it. Go and watch it. You will not regret it. It's brilliant. It's so good. And the thing is, it's so sort of like, well, it kind of very reminiscent of, obviously it's based in the 50s, so it's not fully reminiscent of me growing up, but like, it's just the way he talks to himself. So there's a bit in it where he's helping his dad sort of kind of fix a flat tire, and his dad sort of knocks the screws out of the kid's hand, and the kid, this is slow motion, kind of goes, Ralphie goes, "Oh, fudge," and he says, and I didn't say fudge. And then the dad comes into the car and goes, "Do you know what your son just said?" And he whispers in her ear, and she starts screaming. She's, Ralphie, and she washes out his mouth with like soap. And then it's just like him afterwards lying in bed daydreaming about how he might get soap poisoning and how bad they would feel if he went blind because they had made him sort of take this soap. And it was just like, you think that shit when you're a kid, it's like, I was completely wronged. And it's so good because you have these sort of kind of like daydreams, which you do have as a kid. And it's so good. It's so good. Like, like he's writing this report about how, he wants a BB gun, and he's sort of daydreaming how his teacher's going to react when she reads his masterpiece. And she's like going, "Oh my God, it's the best thing ever," and stuff. And he's just like, "Wow, yeah, you're going to love this." Watch it. If you've not watched it, definitely. It's called A Christmas Story. It's about a kid called Ralphie who wants a BB gun. It's so good, really, really, really good. You should watch it.
Well, actually, I've got a bit of a conundrum at the moment about films to watch. Like every Christmas Eve, I will take the kids out to the cinema to watch film. Now, my daughter has already been to see Spider-Man: No Way Home.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
Without me.
Oh, that's really bad. That's betrayal right there, Peter.
We have watched every MCU film to date together and talked about it, got the references pointed out, like little Easter eggs, and my daughter decided to go and see Spider-Man No Way Home without me. We're just with her friends.
Yeah, but you're not. She's older now. You're just dad. You're not cool dad.
What age is she?
Ed's a teenager.
Okay.
There you go.
You're just not cool anymore, man.
According to some of her friends, I am cool, and some of them think I'm a rock star.
But you're still dad. You're still dad. That box wins.
But anyway, I'm trying to find a film that a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old can all enjoy on Christmas Eve, and I'm really drawing a blank.
A Christmas Story? A Christmas Story? Get it, man. Seriously.
At the cinema.
Oh, okay.
Is Ghostbusters still showing up your way?
I've still not seen that yet either. Not seen Ghostbusters, not seen Spider-Man yet.
No.
Not seen
I've missed Ghostbusters. I caught June last week.
So good, really good.
Probably not going to catch Spider-Man now with everything going to hell.
Yeah.
Which means I'll probably miss The Matrix as well.
Oh shit, yeah, fuck, Matrix as well.
Yeah, Matrix is going to get hammered, unfortunately, by the Omicron.
Yeah.
At least in the UK.
And Belgium and most of Europe at this rate.
Yeah. I want to see Spider-Man in the cinema, but I just don't see me getting to see it until in the new year, to be fair. Like I'm now double jabbed and boosted. I have been boosted. I am 15G enabled or whatever it is.
Likewise.
Yeah. So, but
got Windows Human installed yet?
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, well, we'll see what happens and stuff. I don't think he'd have the balls. I don't think they'd have the balls to stop Christmas fully because of all the shit that's gone down. Especially with that Christmas party, they weren't meant to be the Christmas party inverted commas that never happened.
Alleged Christmas party.
The alleged Christmas party,
and the subsequent investigation into the Christmas party that never happened to interview people that weren't there.
Yeah, I guarantee.
By someone that had another Christmas party.
Yeah, if they turned around and went, "Yeah, you guys can't have a proper Christmas this year," I think everybody would revolt. You would have a proper fuck off. That's not happening. How dare you? And I just think they couldn't do it. So I reckon what's going to happen is New Year, they'll turn around and go, right, okay, we need a new lockdown, and they're gonna kick it in New Year.
My money's on it. my money's on an announcement on Thursday that as of Boxing Day we're stuffed and we're in lockdown.
Problem with that is I'll be stuck in Northern Ireland then. I'm back for Christmas for Northern Ireland. As much as I like being there for bits and pieces, I don't want to spend, the next year stuck in Northern Ireland, without my man cave.
Well, the slight ray of sunshine behind the clouds is that Omicron, due to initial research, Omicron seems to be incredibly more transmissible, but also less severe.
I heard that. Yeah, heard that.
Now, that pretty much maps out with the general evolution of viruses. They become more transmissible, but also, less severe, because they want to spread. They don't want to kill the host. They want to kind of spread more and more and more. Now, so fingers crossed, things will start calming down finally next year. Very much.
Got to get there first.
Well, we're into the last sprint of this side. Another week and a half, and we should be there.
What was the meme I saw earlier on? 2021, almost over. Proof that time flies when you're not having fun too.
Yeah, I was, I think I feel bad for the service industry and stuff. Like, I feel bad and I feel annoyed at them at this moment in time, because I went to look to sort of kind of book a New Year's Eve thing with me and my like I said, it's my girlfriend's my new girlfriend. Ooh. And I were like charging like 250 quid a person, and I was like, "Are you insane?" It was like, I don't mind a little bit of extravagance around the year, and it's just like, there is no way I'm gonna spend 250 quid, 500 quid a person to sit in, Cloud 23 in Manchester, to watch fireworks, and it's gonna.
Well, you've got to think about it, like due to social distancing, they've got to kind of keep everyone apart.
Yep.
Plus the kind of all the various COVID restrictions that are in place and will become increasingly in place. On top of that, it's like, it's one of the most sought after days of the year, barring possibly Valentine's Day and possibly and Easter.
And they're probably scheduling extra staff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I fully, I understand why they've hiked the prices up and stuff. Like, I've been there a few times and stuff. It's good. But, it's great. It's great for, like, if it's a good, like, I like to have parties and stuff for New Year's, but if I go out, it's a good place to go simply because you get a 360 in Manchester, you get all the fireworks going off and around. It's quite nice, and it's fancy. It's good to sort of, it's quite a fancy place, but it's never been that expensive. It's been expensive, but it's not been that expensive, and it's just kind of gone up. And it's not because I've left it late. It's because they obviously have to make up for the shortfall of whatever sort of is happening at this moment in time. And so I have they have my sympathy. They have my sympathy, but then it's just like, well, I can't do that now.
Yeah. Well, it's supply and demand. So obviously there's sufficient demand there, and that they can offer that price.
Yeah. Well, that is it, isn't it? Yeah.
Fortunately, I mean, here's a question though: I've never gone out. Barring a few parties I've gone to in New Year's, I've never had a good time at a New Year's Eve party. There's always been a bit kind of build up to midnight. Watch a few fireworks go off and go, huh.
I don't like going out for New Year's generally. I wouldn't go out for most times, like every year. Before I got Boz is a bit of the issue because I can't, one, you can't have people around the house with Boz in because he's obviously a guard dog, and he's like, what the fuck are these random people doing in my home? And he'll just be going mental, it's just like, that's not going to happen. And because he's broken out of his kennels numerous occasions, and the gates haven't been fixed, he can't stay there over New Year, so I can't have a party at my house. So he has to sort of, be wherever he's going to be, and so I would generally have a party. So we'd call it New Gear's Eve. So you had Gearowing for Halloween, and then you had New Gear's Eve, which was, and then every now and again we had Chinese New Gear's as well. So just to sort of kind of throw that in. So we had New Gear's Eve, and it was really good. Like every one I've had has been really enjoyable. Just being like lots of friends there, lots of food, a really good laugh and stuff. And I've never really liked going out, one, because it's expensive. Two, it's like I could spend 200 quid, 300 quid on food and drink and stuff for a party at my house, and it's great. Or I could spend 500 plus on going out into Manchester and then having to try and get taxis home, or have to spend loads of money on a hotel. And
dude, think about all the board games you could buy with that money.
Yeah, exactly. What's it, isn't it? But it's like,
you could almost buy 2 squads of Space Marines.
Yeah, what?
I've been out to nightclubs at various times on New Year's Eve, and it's always just been really naff, just like a bit of a fanfare around, midnight, and that's it. There's nothing else to differentiate. When you kind of get a lot of friends together and celebrate the New Year, like, reminiscing about what's happened, what's to come, that feels much more,
Yeah, I'd sort of, I don't mind it when it's just sort of you and somebody else, and you're having like it's quiet. Sort of, there's a bit of music going on, you quiet, you got something. But if you're gonna have a party with other people, I'd prefer it was at my house and stuff. I wouldn't go out with a bunch of people and stuff, because you just get rammed into some sort of small place. You're paying door charge or something, and then it's just
Then the bar's usually jacked up as well.
Yeah. So it's just like so. No, so I'm gonna have to try and think of something else for New Year's this year, I think. But yeah, well, that's if I get back in time. That's if they don't sort of stop
you out.
Yeah, stop me from traveling and stuff. We'll have to see. But one of these days is going to be over.
I strongly suspect by this time next year it will be over. Basically, COVID will become another form of seasonal bug or virus, much like the cold or the flu. And we'll just basically have a COVID jab along with our flu jab.
Yeah.
And basically, as it becomes more transmissible, it becomes less severe. And our bodies have now kind of become acclimatized to COVID viruses, and will basically some form of resistance. That's my suspicion.
Well, if it doesn't happen, Pete, you're getting held responsible. We're going to come back here and go, Pete, you said in Geek Pridecast 2021 that it was all going to be over by now. It's not.
You'll even play it back. You know that, don't you?
You know that time, Pete, that you said this.
Okay.
Well, what's happening now? Why? The apocalypse has come.
What's that, Pete? I can't hear you over your respirator noises. Can you take the bunny suit off for a little bit?
Yeah. We don't talk about the bunny suit.
Tell the man with the machete in the background to piss off.
It's my assault rifle. I have 2 whole rounds for it. Do you want me to have one?
Mr. Wilson says, was that the prediction last year as well?
Heckling from the crowd.
See, I don't know. Do you know what? I'm trying to think. When this happened, I think it was going to last this long.
It's been about 21 months now, since March 2020. I was predicting things would go back to normal in summer, as in summer 2021, and things did start going back to normal. Unfortunately, things started getting worse again. So, yeah.
See, it's one of these things. Like it's, I've sort of just got used to it to the point where it's just a thing that happens, and I kind of, in a way, I like the fact that it's forced companies to sort of be a bit more flexible with working and stuff like that. You know, like I 100% prefer working from home than getting on a train and going into the office and stuff like that. You know, as much as I like seeing people now and again, I'm happy to sit and work from home and stuff,
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't have any of that commute time. I mean, I've seen more of Kaylee this past 18 months than I have the past about 2-3 years before, because Kate's been working from home and I've been working from home. So it's been fantastic. We spent more time together and have loved it. I mean, there are people out there that said, oh, no, I want to work like I've broken up because they've been working together too long, or they want to go to the office because they've had enough of their wife or husband. It's thinking, Really?
Yeah, there's been, yeah, I find that. There's like people
Really?
who go, I need to get out of the office. That being said, I suppose if you've got loads of screaming kids and stuff, you're probably want to get away from them for a bit and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got 3 kids,
Well,
and
there's-
I love it. Yeah,
but
we love it.
what age are your kids, Pete?
5, 10, and 13.
Yeah, so
So I mean, okay, so I mean, Rick would have been literally turning 4 when the whole thing kicked off back in March 2020, and so things have been really, for him, it's been the most disruptive because he completely dropped out of nursery, and this first year in that school reception level was very disrupted with like the homeschooling every now and then, and this is so it was really, you could see like just the social development aspect of his personality was, because he wasn't there with other children his age.
I actually understand that. Yeah,
And so I mean, but I've gone way off topic of this, haven't I? So I apologise. But honestly, it's been great just spending time together. And I mean, we have done things together that we would never probably have done, like playing D&D at the weekends during lockdown. And well, obviously not with Rick because he's 4, but my older 2, and with Kayla. Kayla played D&D for the first time and loved it. She played a half elf called Liv. China.
Neil Jackson on Facebook. Oh, Mr. Jackson, long time no speak, sir. Working from home has really helped me clear some of my painting backlog. I'd love to say it has for me, but I think I've done sort of like, I do what I always do. I get myself into lots of little projects and never really finish them off. And the only thing that sort of kind of has kept on going is Dungeons and Dragons, and that's because I have to. It's like keep on powering through.
Yeah, no, my year's been quite disrupted with all sorts of odds and sods, as you guys probably know.
Yeah.
So it's not been the world's most consistent year for me, but I definitely know it happened somewhere on the way, and I have the bruises to show.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been some good stuff this past year. I mean, I started going back to Kung Fu again.
Oh, you were sure? Yeah, right, yeah.
And I've recently got my yellow belt, and I mean, this is I really enjoy martial arts. I really enjoy Kung Fu, especially because it's just a style that just suits my nature. And that dropped out of it about 20 years ago. Basically, I moved. There was the Shaolin school I was going to was on the other side of town, and then I met Kalia. Then we moved again, and then we kind of married, and then children, and then suddenly, hang on, it's been 20 years. I want to go back to Kung Fu. And I just like in this random thing, I saw this post by this local Kung Fu school saying, "Hey, we are opening up following lockdowns. Anyone interested to come along?" I went, "Actually, I am." And I've gone back to it, and it's great. It's amazing stuff I kind of remember from 20 plus years ago. And I kind of myself doing, okay, I remember this. This is cool. Just like getting into it again. So that's been good. And but yeah, it has been, opportunities have presented themselves, but they've been few and far between. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah. I've thought, oh, with all this, extra time, I could get loads more done, but I haven't really. You always find things to sort of kind of fill in the gap, and then you procrastinate. Like today is a prime example of me procrastinating. Like I got up early-ish for me on a Sunday, and
how early?
Well, I went to bed at 2:30, and I got up out of bed at 11, so early-ish for Sunday when because I had to walk balls. So I walked balls, and then I cleaned the house a bit, and I was like, okay, I'm going to sort out my man cave. I'm going to get all the games ready for when I get back to Northern Ireland and stuff. Got to get all my Song of Ice and Fire stuff sorted so me and my brother can play when we go back to Northern Ireland stuff. I sat down and watched literally a season of Scrubs. That's it. Sat there.
Dude, this Witcher has just been dropped on Netflix, and you watch the Scrubs instead.
I know, man. That's it. That's it. I was gonna start watching it with Mira on Friday, but she hasn't seen the first season properly, and I didn't really want to rewatch it at the time and stuff, and she wasn't that bothered, and I was just like, so we'll just watch something else.
The first season of The Witcher is heavy going, not because of the setting or the characters, but the structure of the story itself.
It drops around so much.
It drops around, and it doesn't help that the characters are ageless.
Yeah.
So you don't realise that they are jumping between different times until the very end. It's like, oh, the big twist, when really there should have been some stronger indicators there to, telegraph that to the viewer. Now, Westworld did that, same thing in their first season, but they did it much better because there was much greater background detail.
Yeah, Westworld was good though, because I had no idea, and then things started clicking in, and then you're just like, oh, yeah, right.
And there's also seemingly two different characters.
Yes. That was the key, wasn't it? It wasn't exactly the same cast. There were enough differences in the cast that you knew there were distinct time or stories, but you didn't see the connections until later on as the little breadcrumbs started to come through and you drew the lines. Whereas with The Witcher, it was so much harder trying to get the frame of reference, because too many of the main characters you were seeing were basically just wearing different costumes sometimes, or not even that sometimes in the case of
this essentially ageless, because because they're various natures, and it was just, it felt like a sleight of hand that was underhand, if that makes any sense. But the next season, which is actually being much more straight in their narrative, much more structured, and it's paying off. It feels much more interesting. The creature effects are fantastic. The CGI effects, but the creature effects make up for it, and the story is pretty good, and it delves deeply into Slavic folklore, which I absolutely love.
It is on my list for this week, I think, but I just haven't had a chance.
I haven't watched Hawkeye yet either, man. I've just been pretty bad. I haven't watched Hawkeye, I haven't watched Witcher, I haven't watched new Spider-Man, I haven't watched
I might get crucified by people for saying this, but I think possibly Hawkeye is one of the best of it's one of the best Marvel series. They've kind of completely forgoed all kind of apocalyptic storylines. Gone for a very personal, very grounded story.
Very tight.
Very tight, very personal, of like Hawkeye, and like what it is to be an Avenger went alongside a god, a genius billionaire philanthropist, a raging ball of fury,
super soldier,
a super soldier, and then you got a guy with a bow and arrow. And what's it like to be in there? And it really does pay off like some interesting insights in the character, but it's so well done because you make Clint Barton become the everyman viewer.
But then also, I think they played it really well between him and Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, because she's part of the reason it works so well. Because yes, okay, she is a bit of a spoiled rich kid, but in her way. But the naivety that she brings into it when he's just so weary, and she just keeps on just like, yep, we can go now, right, cool. Yeah, all under control.
No spoilers, by the way.
Not spoilers, but no, it's really nice. There's some great intersections with the wider MCU. But it pays off dividends for those that have been watching MCU, while still being accessible to those that haven't watched all of them. And I think it's just a really sweet. So it's mixed, incredibly relatable, because all he wants to do is be home in time for Christmas with his family. And I think everyone can relate to that one goal. And then all these things keep happening. He goes, no, I just want to go home and see my family, please.
I'm looking forward. I'll probably do it because I've got a week off, so back to Northern Ireland. Hopefully, back to Northern Ireland hopefully on Tuesday night. I've got to get a 4 a.m. boat if they don't lock things down. So I'm going to travel. I'm going to have to leave here at about 8 o'clock in the night and then travel up to Scotland to get across Northern Ireland. So I've got a week across there. So I'll have lots of time, hopefully when we're not playing games with my bro, to watch sort of like Witcher and Hawkeye. And I'm hopefully might get to see Spider-Man. If I don't, I'm going to have to try and steer away from spoilers and stuff until the new year.
It's driving me nuts at the moment as it is.
It's going to be hard. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Plus, because it's the 20th anniversary, and we'll get to some of the questions because I think Alistair said about favorite what we're looking forward to in 2022, but we'll go down this sort of rabbit hole. But it's the 20th anniversary of Lord of the Rings this year, and 20 years, man, and I'm looking forward to having some family Lord of the Rings time and stuff. I think I'm gonna force the family to watch Lord of the Rings when we get back, because it used to be like a tradition. I remember going to see it the first time when it came out. It was in the Printworks in Manchester, the gallery, which was like the expensive seats where you got free popcorn and some chocolate and stuff, and I remember going there and watching it and being like, this is the culmination of my childhood coming to fruition. This is like everything I dreamed about, because I grew up, me and my brother and sister grew up with it. Did you ever see the animated Lord of the Rings?
I did. I thought that was really well done. I mean, the kind of bit of the shy was a bit twee, but the orc elements was really chilling. The way they kind of brought in live action elements.
It was quite dark. Yeah. And it's like, but the thing is, it only got up to Helm's Deep. So you got the Helm's Deep in...
it ends with Gandalf saying, "And thus begins the war of the ring," and throwing his sword in the air.
Yeah, that's it.
Stabbing himself in the head.
So good. So as a kid growing up with that film, we're like, oh, but my dad would read this books, and we knew kind of what was going, but we always wanted to know, come on, what is somebody going to finish this? Are we ever going to get something? And that was, I can't even remember the year that was sort of brought out, but it was pretty sort of, I had to wait another 15 years or something, possibly 12, 15 years, something like that, before finally having the Lord of the Rings movie like come out and just come on the screen. And I've never had my mind blown as much by anything until like Lord of the Rings came out. And I remember physically standing and clapping my hands when it finished. And I was just like, this was absolutely amazing, just completely blown away by it and stuff. And it's just like, I cried when Boromir died. I cried when Gandalf fell after the Balrog. It's just like, this is like everything. This is so beautiful. And we just have this like tradition where we'd watch it in the cinema. So I watched it in Manchester. Then I went home to Northern Ireland. We all went to see it in the cinema. Then the next year, we all watched the first one again on the DVD that came out. Then we went to watch the second one in the cinema. Then we watched all the extras and stuff. And then the next year we did the same thing. And then the next year we watched all three of them and stuff. And it was just like a thing that we did. And we did it with the Hobbit movies as well when they came out. And it's just like, so 20 years of my life with these films and stuff. And I think, that's it. It's going to have to have Lord of the Rings this year. It's going to have to be. It's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the Lord of the Rings films with my children when my eldest could probably handle it. I think my boys might be a tad too young, 10 and 5. But I'm looking forward to.
You reckon 10's too young, too old? I mean, too young for Lord of the Rings?
For some of the more violent aspects, yes. Because they don't shy back from the violence. Actually, the deaths, do they? When you think about it.
I'm trying to think. In the first one, I suppose they are pretty.
Especially, it is kind of quite brutal when they're reinforcing just how nasty Saruman and Sauron's forces are, and like they're kind of the birthing of the orcs and everything. So it can be. There's distinct horror elements to it when you think about it. And even Smeagol, for that matter, to be fair, Golem, that is kind of quite.
Yeah, well, thinking about the cartoon, thinking back at the cartoon, it was pretty dark, and there was some, it was pretty, the way they filmed it, because they sort of kind of put, it was film as well as animated as well, so they
live action animated.
Yeah, live action animated and stuff. So they had some, the orcs look, scary, and some of them looked like proper scary and stuff, and it was like, so I remember as a child sort of kind of being like, I don't think I was scared of it. I don't ever think about being scared of it and stuff, because it was
unsettled.
It was I don't know. I just sort of, because you had like Aragorn and Legolas and stuff like that.
To be fair, though, we survived Watership Down, so we could handle most things.
Oh, mate, Watership Down. What the hell is that? That is designed for children, and that is pure trauma in
that
cartoon.
Was never designed for children. It never was. It was just because it was animated that, the not censors.
Everyone assumed.
Thank you, it would be, suitable for children. No, it's not. It really isn't. It has kind of mentally and emotionally scarred children of a decade.
It's an animated film about bunny rabbits. The children will love it.
It's so graphic as well, man. That film is so graphic. It's like literally bunny murder everywhere, and it's not just like a bit of blood. There's blood everywhere.
Throats.
Rabbits, ripping each other apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the first 5 minutes, like when the rabbit has a vision of a tide of blood coming down the hills, and I'm thinking. And I'm not watching this about 6 or 7.
That's that Ephrafa. Was that the name of the rabbit god or something? I can't. Ephrafa.
Yeah, and I'm just like looking at it. I'm 6 or 7 thinking, okay, I don't want to watch this now. Thank you.
Checking out.
But yeah, it's.
Neil says, I remember the first time I saw a Lord of the Rings trailer. I was working in Games Workshop Manchester. Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't realise you worked in Games Workshop Manchester, Neil. We beat Liverpool on sales and rewards. We went to watch Starship Troopers, but the short snippet of the Fellowship walking one over the peak trailer was what really sent me into a frenzy, despite the film still being 2 years away.
I can go with that. Yeah, it's the first. A lot of Rings films, like Fellowship of Ring, was a fantastic film in and of itself. I mean, it was just really completely, set the bar of what was could be expected from a fantasy film. And yeah, as it's set, it kind of sent earthquakes through, the cinema industry. Like, this is what we can do. Yeah. These are the stories that we can tell.
You watch it back, though, it is slightly dated. As much as I love all the practical effects, and the one thing that annoyed me most about The Hobbit, really annoys me about The Hobbit, is they went too CGI heavy on it.
Yeah.
Like, it would just... I appreciate they used a lot of CGI. They did some groundbreaking stuff with CGI in the original films, but it was all about the bigatures, so they made things, everything was tangible. There was, it was a physical sort of thing, whereas you had animated orcs and you had sort of animated sort of everything, and in The Hobbit, that upset me. But if you look back at sort of like some of the Lord of the Rings stuff, it looks slightly dated now, but still so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember this story around the time when the Two Towers was released. Apparently, for the Battle of the Armies, the Siege of Rohan, was that right?
Well, the Battle of Five Armies is...
No, the Battle of Armies, the battle between the Orc forces and the Riders of Rohan. When those two armies meet each other. Thank you, Battle of Helm's Deep. Apparently, they used this program called Massive, which is simulate, mass combat between two giant armies. But they made every unit intelligent and to therefore respond, tactically and intelligently. The two armies faced each other, turned around and ran away. so that to lower the intelligence of each unit so they actually would fight.
Oh, is this are you talking about Pelennor Fields? It's not the siege you're talking about? Are you talking about when the Rohirrim hit them in the side, the flank, and...
No, it's like Massive. The program Massive was used, and they had to kind of dumb down the forces a bit so they would actually fight and not run away. Which then again, thinking about that kind of makes sense because hey, I don't want to die, I want to lick it.
The one thing that really annoys me, it doesn't annoy me because I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd and I just love Lord of the Rings, but it's when the Rohirrim are charged down the hill and there's a bunch of pikemen with their spears out and they're charging into pikemen. And it's like, this would never happen. This is like, Gandalf, you're an idiot. Why would you ever do this? But obviously they sort of break the line of these pikemen quite easily.
I understood that it was because the sun was rising and blinded them, so they couldn't kind of angle the pikes properly to.
Yeah, I think that's the inference that's there and stuff. That's why I sort of kind of tell myself, but it's like the history side of me is kind of going, would they? They're packed pretty deep. There's a lot of pikemen there. I don't know if that's gonna work or not, but yeah. Love those films, man. I just buzzed off every single one of them. And I was really sad when they all ended and stuff. I was just like, oh.
Well, to be fair, The third film. Bloody hell, I can't remember.
Return
of the King. Thank you. Yeah, I'm completely blanking on the name today. But no, the Return of the King kept ending and ending and ending, and he's just like, please, just stop, please.
No, actually, the thing is, people say this all the time. It's like it's the most common sort of like thing about it, and apparently Jack Nicholson. Apparently, one of the reasons he left was because it wouldn't end, and it's just like for me, I didn't want it to end, so having these sort of kind of bits just sort of coming on and things is just like it was sort of what's the word? It was crossing the T's and dotting the I's for the the final movie and stuff, and it was just sort of like it was nice. I enjoyed it.
I get that from a story aspect, but from a kind of a cinematic aspect, it was just. It was Bessie. Thank you. There, yeah, it just felt. I could have happily had all the extended editions and still watched it and stuff. Make it 5 hours a movie. I would have done that. We've had this discussion about sort of long films and stuff like that. I have zero issue with watching long films. It doesn't bother me at all. I would prefer the.
But the thing is, there's a long film where it's. Because it's full of stuff that needs to be in that structure, but where it's just careless, and they've just got to the end and gone, well, if I just keep on throwing scenes in there as I cross stuff off my list, then sooner or later I'll run out and we'll put the credits in.
I think because I think our debate the last time we had it was about was on Justice League, wasn't it, the Schneider cut, because we were basically talking about the endings where he just threw in the post-apocalyptic sort of ending, and then he threw in the Martian Manhunter thing and stuff, and in my mind it was just it was him just going to go, this is what you could have had if you sort of let me carry on, sort of thing. This is what you could have if you sort of wanted to do that. With Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, I think it was necessary story. I don't think it was, it was sort of showing where everybody was going and what everybody was doing and stuff. So for me, it didn't feel like it was sort of it was lots of different endings, but it was different endings for different people's story arcs, if you get what I mean. And that didn't bother me.
And you're going to have to go through it all over again starting next year when this, or is it next year or the year after, with this prequel series that Amazon are doing.
Oh, please be good, 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 please be good.
I'll wait till September to find out.
Oh, man. I just hope it's going to be good. One thing that's going to really, really upset me about that is I guarantee they're not going to do it on a binge watch way. It's going to be week after week after week, and I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to wait every week to watch a new episode, and I can't do that anymore. I just want to binge stuff. I just want to binge it all. So
Matt Jones in for content.
Yeah.
We'll do things for the next episode of Lord of the Rings.
So yeah, I'm hoping they spent enough money on it. It's the most expensive TV program apparently ever made. So, I'm kind of hoping it'll be good. So we'll see. I just hope they don't bastardize it and stuff, because it's meant to be. It's sort of Silmarillion time and stuff. So it's literally I think it's the sort of. It's going to be the fall of moving up to the fall of Numenor. So basically the Black Numenorians and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, looking forward to that. That's going to be
all that, and you've got House of the Dragon coming as well.
Oh yeah, well this sort of kind of ties in with Mr. Wilson's sort of thing of looking forward to in 2022. So we got we got Lord of the Rings, which I'm looking forward to. House of the Dragon. I am slightly not bothered by it because the way the series ended. I've got a bit of a. I don't know what it is. I've got a bit of a, I've just got a bit of a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to sort of Game of Thrones at the minute. Says the man who's got a Game of Thrones tabletop game going on in the background and stuff. But it's just like, I love the book so much, and it's upsetting that he still hasn't finished the last two. He hasn't even got on to the last sort of, the Winds of Winter yet. Finished the Winds of Winter yet, and it's been easily, like, when was the last one? 10 years? We're going to be going on 10 years now before because he's done since the Dance for Dragons. Dance for Dragons was 2013, 2012, something like that. I know it's in and around then and stuff. So, and the series was like, okay, right, well, this will do me until these books come out and stuff. But it just ended so badly that I just kind of went to, like, I don't give a shit about this. I'm bored waiting on the books now, and I'm just like, the last series just left such a bad taste in my mouth that I was just like, I'm not really that bothered. And the prequel series, it has to be something special, or I'm not going to be too impressed. So hopefully it'll be good as well. But just,
Matt, do you think the TV series has damaged the Game of Thrones brand in and of itself?
Yeah, it has, and it's just sort of, they've rushed it. They've given, the one thing that annoys me the most is they've got a story that has so much complexity, and they've done it so well for, as much as it differs from the books in a lot of ways, but they've done it well enough for the first sort of 3-4 seasons, and then they've realized that it's expensive and we need to put this to bed soon. So what we're going to do is rush it. So they've got all this really sort of mad sort of complexity, and they've condensed it, and they've cut out and they made it easier, and it just sort of cut off sort of storylines, and it's like killing off Littlefinger, doing things like this, and it was just like the death of Littlefinger in a really meaningless way. As much as it showed that Sansa was sort of, not to be trifled with and stuff, it was just like, his character was integral to the Game of Thrones in my mind, and having him just dead the way he is, it was just like, well, we need to get him out of the way so we can move things on. We need to get this person out of the way to move them on. Oh, Jaime and Cersei fucking die in a rock slide underneath the Red Keep, and this is gonna happen. And it's just like, they just rushed it. And then what the fuck was Democratic Bran? New democratically elected Bran. What the hell's that? And it's just like, and it was ridiculous. They got this beautifully complex thing that they could have easily got 2 or 3 more seasons out of, maybe more, to sort of really sort of kind of get this beautiful sort of like, this beautiful thing out, but they didn't, and they just rushed. Even the White Walkers that have been coming, for seasons and seasons and seasons, suddenly it's just like this big, impressive, sort of like unstoppable wave is suddenly just snuffed out like that with, and it's just, the massive threat isn't a threat after it just suddenly disappears, and it's just like, it really, and I think because they didn't end it properly, they made their money and they left, and because they didn't end it properly, a lot of people like me and everybody just kind of went away, kind of going, I'm not bothered. It didn't end very well. So and because it has no longevity, and I will say to this day, the best ending that series could have ever had was a what the fuck, oh my god, cliffhanger thing, because that would have made it carry on. And I've got a YouTube video on this, and I said this is how it should have ended. Littlefinger should have ended up on the throne, and Littlefinger should have done what he does best. He's literally pulled the strings throughout the entire thing, and then what happens is you have Dany, you have Jon, maybe a bit of shit happens with that, they beat the White Walkers, and then Littlefinger at the end has them fucking killed. Or something happens where you think it's all going to have a happy ending, and it's not, dead. And then all you have is Littlefinger sitting on the Iron Throne at the end of the series, and it pans back, and he's looking down, and then he looks up, and then it ends, and that's it. And that sort of ending, the internet would have exploded. Everybody would have just been like, oh, what the fuck, but you would have remembered it. Whereas at this moment in time, the end of Game of Thrones, do you really remember kind of what happened? Dany goes a bit mental, Jon Snow buggers off, it's just sort of, it's a bit meh. It's a bit of a damp squib. Whereas if you had something like that, it would have been talked about for years, argued about for years. It would have just sort of kept that thing going. Whereas it is, you have this sort of damp squib of a series, and it's just sort of people who are even like me who were interested in the books I'm not as interested in reading what's going to happen in the next book, because one, he's taken too long, and two, the series left, the last series just ended, just made me not want to watch it.
I still say the final end battle should have been just basically Syrio Forel coming on and going, do you know what we say to the god of death? Literally, the final battle, that should have been just Syrio Forel just suddenly walking back on after about eight or 9 seasons. Like, because he is the greatest swordsman.
Alistair says, author has to take some blame. Surely he committed to finishing the books whilst they made the TV shows. He didn't, because that's the thing is, he basically just turned around and went, they've turned around to him and went, so how does this end? And he's kind of went, well, I've not really thought about it, because I think he's the sort of writer that, he's like, I think like me, I don't like doing stuff when I'm forced to do it. So I understand that, if he wants to write something, he'll do it in his own time. But he's had it's like me and my D&D games. I have a brief idea. I have an idea what's going to happen to you guys, right? So I have a concept on how things are going to go in our campaign. So I kind of know what I'm going to do with Draken. I know what I'm going to do with Lance. I'm going to do Tharavel. I kind of have an idea about what I'm going to do with each character. So if somebody turned around and wanted to make a movie of your exploits, I could kind of go, okay, well, this is kind of what I want to happen, and then they would have to put their own slant on it, and this is what's happened. So he's given them basically up to Jon Snow's death, books wise. That's basically where the books end. Is it doesn't end on Jon Snow's death. It ends on Jon Snow gets killed, and you're like, what the fuck? And then the last scene is basically Varys killing Kevin Lannister, who is Tywin's brother. And he basically, there's an invasion of Westeros by, I think it's Little Griff, who, it's not, Daenerys isn't even there, she's off on Drogon somewhere. So there's another Westerosi, they're Targaryens, but it's a different sort of branch of Targaryens, and they've invaded Westeros. And that's sort of where it ends. So he's kind of gone, well, this is what you've got so far. As it ends, I kind of want something like this to happen, maybe. And they went, okay, and they've gone with it, and they've rushed it, because they had all this sort of complexity in these books that they could look back on and sort of, piece things together. And then they've had this gap of nothingness that they've had to just piece together, and you can tell they've done it, because it's just not as good. It's not the same. Yeah. That meme of the horse basically being awesome to suddenly just like this little stick drawing is so perfect, because it's true. It's so true. And
just finished drawing the horse.
Actually, what's interesting is that you compare this to Expanse, it's completely different, but in some ways they're having the same issues. Like Game of Thrones was an 8-season epic, with the book still being written, and also no clear idea of how it ended. Whilst the Expanse series, we are now in the final season now, but this is book 6 of 9 books. All 9 books have been written and released, but this is only like season 6 is only going to be effectively trying to condense all the storyline into 6 episodes.
But did you say they were going to make film? They were going to make film. Have you seen this? Because it's out now, isn't it? The Expanse.
Yep, I've watched the first 2 episodes. Really, really good. My only concern is how they're going to try and condense all this, and resolve everything in the space of 6 episodes, because there's a lot of plot there. My suspicion is that they will then do a series of TV movies, because there is a 30-year gap between books 6 and book 7. So they could well do a trilogy of films with an entirely new cast, as you'd expect. And
so they would just finish off their story arc, the Rocinante's story arc, effectively, the crew from that, and then
basically they then continue doing other stories in the Expanse universe, but with entirely different casts, essentially. And I mean, but like, I still think like trying to condense, the whole belt of not belt, OPA versus UN storyline into 6 episodes. It's going to be a massive undertaking, as well as kind of resolving all the things that's happening with the Ringgate aliens, destroyers, enemy. Because I still got that kind of like swirling red thing that takes out that Martian frigate.
Mm.
So there's a lot of story to be told, but how do they manage to resolve that sufficiently and sufficiently deeply and well in 6 episodes?
Yeah,
well,
well,
especially the first episode.
Are they feature long? Long
episodes? Episode is about 50 minutes long. The final episode itself is apparently going to be about 90 minutes an episode and a half. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying it, really enjoying it so far. I mean, the first episode was purely setting up all the characters, where they were, and what they were all doing. And the second story, without going into details, all that, starting to move the plot forward. But still, that's only 4 episodes left, and it's just like, wow. And it still is really, really good. I'm enjoying it. Absolutely love it. I mean, Kaylee doesn't like it. The science is too accurate. You can't spot all the mistakes.
Yeah. See one of those like, actually, you'll find.
Yeah, it's like one of the things that Kaylee and I enjoy doing is spotting all the mistakes in TV programs, and thing with Francis actually is fairly accurate. It's a lot more accurate than a lot of other science fiction shows out there. It's not completely perfect. We've spotted a few things, but generally it's a bit, wow, that's actually really pretty good, actually.
Have you watched For All Mankind on Apple TV?
Oh no, but I was going to have a look at that.
That's quite good. I'm looking forward to series 3 next year. But it's been really well done so far, and it's got a really good cast because it's series 2 came out this year.
Oh,
so this is another thing that's sort of frustrating me at the minute. Is there's so many different pay-per-view channels now, things now, and it's like the new Halo the new Halo series is coming out on Paramount Plus.
Along with all the new Star Trek stuff.
With all the new Star Trek stuff, and it's like, oh man, I want to watch the new Hero series, but it's just like, I've already got Disney, I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon, I just got rid of Sky, and it's just like...
The thing is, what you end up doing is when they release it, if they release it all bingeable, then you just jump between subscriptions. So you take a month off of Netflix and you binge all your Paramount Plus stuff. Or you binge all of your Apple TV stuff in 1 month. You like to binge anyway. What's the problem?
I do like to binge, but it's just sort of, I'm also, just, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like, all because it's basically a fragmentation of streaming platforms. Like, is what you'd expect. But before it was condensed down to Netflix and Prime. Now kind of people are realizing, hang on, we want some of that streaming revenue. Thank you very much. And listening on that way. Now,
thing is, I think they're going to hit critical mass with this sort of thing, because there's going to be so many companies who are going to do the same thing that people are not going to be willing to pay for all these subscriptions. And then it's going to go full circle back to where somebody's going to go, well, look, fellas, why don't, because everybody's going to suffer.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going to suffer, and it's going to go full circle back to people going to go, look, let's have one place where we'll share a bit of money between it, and it's just going to be the same thing. Because
that's how it works. Life isn't static.
Exactly. That's how it will happen, unfortunately. I mean, I've gone with Amazon Prime mostly because we're a family of 5, so basically having like next day delivery is great, and we get like Prime service as well, and there's some good shows in there. For Netflix, it's pretty good, and Disney Plus, because Star Wars and Marvel.
The thing is, that's why they're going looking for the licenses. So you got that's why Paramount's gambling on Star Trek, for example. The only new Star Trek content you can't get on Paramount Plus is Picard, and that's just because Amazon sewed them up in a deal.
Yeah,
but then they picked up Halo from Microsoft because, let's be honest, it was never going near Apple. And then it came down to who was willing to throw money at them. And it will just come down to having to pick the licenses you prize more, or, treat it like a holiday in Florida. You don't buy Disneyland tickets and Universal tickets for the whole 2 weeks you're there. You buy a few days there and a few days there, and you leave room to go to wherever else.
Well, I think it's like Alice just made a good point on chat there. He says that there is, but if you think about it, how much Sky TV costs, you can get 4 or 5 subscriptions for the same price. Also, just pay for one each and share between friends.
So they are cracking down the sharing stuff. I know Netflix is getting a bit hotter on that, isn't it?
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, how much is Netflix? It's like 50 quid a year, is it something like that?
No, I know it's gone up a bit more.
Yeah, but Prime's about 70 quid a year and stuff. Like, you know, like Sky is like 40, 50 quid a month. You know, just like, and you're just like, I got to the point where it's like I was paying for it and I wasn't watching it. I was just like, I said, why am I paying for this? Because I don't watch any of the movies really. I don't think subscription, you know, I was spending more of my time watching Netflix or watching YouTube or watching sort of like stream stuff. So yeah, I could buy into that because, like, you know, I'm paying, I don't know, how much is Disney Plus? It's
£8 a month.
£8 a month. 8 quid. So
Apple TV's about £5 a month.
Yeah. So you're going to be verging on the same amount, how much it would have cost you for Sky. If you had a Sky subscription, you could deal with that. You could probably have 3 or 4 of these things sort of going up at the same time and not be too fazed by it. But like we said, it's going to go full circle because they're all going to be doing each other out of, you know, because people are just going to go, I'm not paying for all of this. Things are going to get pirated.
And also, I wouldn't be surprised if people start going back to physical media, like just buying a DVD, because as they limit accessibility to streaming just by going for different providers, people go, well, I can only watch this, like, you know, if I subscribe to your platform, so why does it get on DVD?
Yep.
But also, Sky might go down in price again as a way to expand their availability. Because with Sky Glass, it's not even, you don't even need a dish anymore, do you? With the built-in Sky Q box stuff in the TV, it's all streaming. So it's just as long as you have a compatible internet connection, sort of thing.
Well, they have to sort of kind of get with it at the minute and stuff. Sky need to do something because, like, I had zero. Like when they're so sure you're going to say, I was like, what? Pay 40 quids to watch something? I'm not gonna. You know, I don't think so. And it's just like too expensive. Wasn't getting any use out of it. Barely watch sort of any of the terrestrial TV channels anymore. So it's just like, nah, I'm not bothered. It doesn't bother me and stuff. So, they need to get with the program or they're going to be dead like a doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What are we on now? Okay, so is there what games are people going to be playing over Christmas? What's your Christmas gaming going to be?
I'm probably going to try and finally finish Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So try and get all 3 of them done because this year has not been conducive to sitting down and playing, and I was waiting for it for so long.
No board games?
Probably not. I've got a gaming meet on New Year's Day. I was supposed to be gaming this weekend, but it didn't work out. My partner's family aren't really board gaming people, so no.
Well, okay. I've got the June board game to play, so we're looking forward to playing that one with some friends over Christmas, in between Christmas and New Year. Just got. Hang on a second. Arkham Horror card game. I picked that up in from a sale. So I've been wanting to play that one because it's Lovecraft and it's by Fantasy Flight Games. So sold. And I've also got the Tribes board game to play. And apparently could well be possibly be getting an expansion for the Mansions of Madness.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some board games over Christmas and New Year, and probably get a bit more D&D in with the family.
Cool, that'll be good. I'm hoping everybody will be ready. We've got maybe one more session of this year, maybe 2, depending on sort of people's availability for our D&D game and stuff. And I want to hit you with a hit you with something exciting before 2021 ends. Otherwise, it's just going to be a sad start to 2022. So
he says exciting. I hear quick buy lots and lots of healing potions.
I hit it with my axe.
The thing is, man, it's like there's stuff that is getting to the cusp of what I want to happen. I've been wanting to happen for ages, from the very start of this whole thing, and I've just been like, I just can't, because you were such low levels, I can't do it now because it's just not going to make any sense. Whereas now you're higher up, it's just like, I could do this now. I could do this, and this is going to be good, because the whole thing, I want to make it. I want to have sort of like the Battle of Silkside was like a sort of like a big moment. I want to have these sort of interspersed big moments within it. So it's like there's like these sort of mid-season finales going on. So there's like things happening that are sort of like, oh my god, this is a big thing. And yeah, so there's a couple of things, and I'm just sort of toying with the idea, because technically there's two things I want to happen, and I'm not sure if both of them happening at the same time is going to be too much or not. So I'm just sort of toying with the idea how it's going to work.
Matt, just wait until Draken gets to level 11, and then we've got Undying Fury, and we're all good to go.
I've got like, at the minute because I'm trying with each of the storylines, I'm trying to get everybody something individual that they can work with, and I think it's going to be like Tharavol's moment is going to be one of the next one, and potentially Val's. Though there's another part with with Glandra as well, depending if Danny's going to be back or not. So it's just like, I don't want to sort of over egg it, because I think it can be quite. I think it could be potentially quite emotional, and I don't want to sort of kind of suddenly just go aha and just sort of hit you with all this stuff, and then it just be like lose its effect. So I'm seeing how things are going to happen. Tharivol going off on his own has been slightly advantageous, because it means I can sort of progress that thing slightly more vigorously. But yeah, we'll see.
I'm enjoying the fact that Draken got accused of being soft by another Dragonborn. That was very interesting. And it's just, I just found actually, because the character has evolved over the process of like of over a year or so. And the fact he has changed, he has become slightly more tolerant of others.
Yeah,
than he was way back at the start.
That's the one thing I'm liking about the character. That's one thing I'm loving about the D&D is the evolution of characters. It's like you've got like Dani and Galandra. She started off being very sort of like everything has to be done right and proper and nice, and she was getting upset when things weren't being done, to being a bit more of a hard ass. Tharavol,
callous, I think the phrase you're looking for is.
Yeah, Tharavol's being a bit more, is suddenly got a bit more, he's got a bit more of an edge to him now. I think, everybody's had their sort of like, I think the only characters sort of maybe stayed quite level. Lance has stayed sort of quite sort of stoic and, reasoned, I'd say, throughout and stuff. I don't think, I think there's been, I don't know, am I wrong? Do you think your character sort of kind of had any major developments?
I think he's just had to step forward a lot more.
Yeah.
As things are going on, because everyone's pulling in so many different directions, he's had to keep on stepping in and trying to be the voice of reason.
Yeah, yes, leveling things out when the craziness happens.
Or slamming heads together in certain cases.
yeah. But yeah, there's some exciting moments going to happen, I think. I'm just sort of getting to that point where it's like, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I remember walking down the street thinking stuff, and I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this is going to happen. And this was easily a year ago. And I remember sort of it was in the summer as well. I was just like, I was like, I'm going to have to wait for ages before this sort of happens and stuff. And it's getting to that point where it's just like we're nearly at the tipping point where I can throw this in, and I'm just like, oh, looking forward to it. What we got here, Neil says, I'm waiting for the Moonstone Kickstarter being delivered. Hopefully Sam will get over for a game. He actually said to me on Saturday he was going to hopefully come and see at some point, Neil. Mythos packs I need to complete my Arkham Horror LCG collection on my Xmas list too.
I've just got it, so I'm really looking forward to playing that game.
Also picked up Ice Cool for Xmas Eve box, so
that is a great game.
What is Ice Cool? What is that?
Ice Cool is sort of a board game where you all play penguins and you have to skate around this penguin school to get fish. But rather than kind of moving around your figures by hand, like on a set number, you kind of flick them around this little board game. So it's a very tactile, but still very tactical game. And basically flicking them around, a bit like Airflix.
Okay, we're not going to talk about Airflix because Airflix is currently a 3.5 year long Kickstarter that I've been waiting on, which me and Pete and myself saw at UKGE in 2018. Thought we had a game of it, we filmed it, thought that's really good. I went straight out and backed it on Kickstarter. 3.5 years later, still not turned up, to the point where now obviously I appreciate Kickstarters have delays. I appreciate the guy he's doing. I think a guy called Rob, Dice Sports is the name of the company. He's had a few issues and stuff. I'm cool with shit happening, life happening and stuff. But what really winds me up is people not updating you and stuff. And then it's like, I got to the point where there was like, he said, it's going to happen in a week. Everything's going to be shipped out within a week. I was like, brilliant, awesome. A month later, nothing. To the point where I was just like, right, I've had enough of this. So I sent the message kind of going, look, I appreciate shit happens and things are going on, but, everybody, people might get annoyed at you saying, shit's gone on wrong again, but at least they'll know. Whereas if you tell everybody nothing, then everybody's going to be pissed off with you. So he said, or they said, at least said, they've got an update coming soon, very soon about it. So hopefully I might finally get it. Because it's the upsetting thing about Kickstarters that get marred in delays is that some of them are really good. Like, it took, my lightsabers that took about 2.5 years to turn up. They were fucking good quality lightsabers and stuff. They were amazing product. It just took so long for them to actually, because they underestimated how much work it would need to do. And I think the same things happened here. They've underestimated, one, the popularity maybe, and two, how much work it was going to be. And because of that, there's been so many delays, and it just sort of takes the edge off this game that you've been looking forward to getting. And then it's going to be like, it's turned up, but it's like, right, I'm still kind of annoyed it's taken so long, but, it is a good game, so we'll see what happens when it turns up. But I'm trying my best. This is going to be my New Year's resolution for 2022, is I'm not going to go balls deep on every Kickstarter that I see coming up on my Facebook page and stuff, because I've got a room upstairs now full of new Kickstarters which I'm never going to play and I'm going to sell, because just no point. So I'm going to be more selective with the stuff that comes in and stuff. So I'm going to have ones that I know I will definitely play, and I've just decided that I'm not going to go for cooperative like RPGs and things like that, because I've got a load of them, and it's just like, I like ones where it's adversarial. I like stuff where people are kind of semi-competing against me, even if it's a dungeon master just fucking with me now and again. I'd like a person doing that. I don't want to use
number generators.
I don't want to use an app. And this is the thing, the new Descent, and the third edition of its Descent that's come out from Fantasy Flight Games, one of the big issues people have had with that is it's all app driven. So it's literally like playing a computer game with some miniatures and stuff, and it's just like, it doesn't seem, some people like it, some people I just don't.
I enjoy the Manchester Badgers, because that is very much app driven, and I can see the similarities of a computer game. You playing essentially against the app, but it's still very cooperatively driven. We are all kind of working together, and to an extent, because when you start to go insane, you then have your own little goals. So you kind of almost compete. You still want to succeed, but you also want to kind of get your little goal as well. And that means essentially you've won the game. So it is quite fun in that regard.
Is it? It's a cooperative, but you have your own. There's an individual goal for yourself. So there's competitive. See, I understand stuff like that. So it's like it's the other Arkham board game where it is you play against the board game, but you're playing against each other as well. So I can kind of that, because there is that competitive side of things where you are, as much as you're working together, there's that underlying, but at some point I'm going to have to do it for myself. And I like that. I like that because you have to think about it. Whereas when it's just purely app driven, it's like, I could just play a computer game. And this is a board game, and I don't know if I want that.
What I do like, especially with the Mansions of Madness, is that it is essentially role-playing game as a board game. Because it's very character-driven. You're playing a different character. And it's essentially Call of Cthulhu, the board game, done remarkably well. So you want to kind of, like, if you've got a load of board game players, and, well, do you fancy playing a role-playing game? Oh, no, we don't play role-playing games. Well, shall I play Mansions of Madness then? And then you go, and they say, well, shall I play the Call of Cthulhu now? Play Mansions of Madness, because that is essentially the Call of Cthulhu board game, but really replicating the whole role-playing mechanics as a board game.
I have to say, like, I've never been a massive fan of the Lovecraftian type thing, but Ben Fee many years ago, you can actually see the stream on our YouTube channel and stuff, did a Call of Cthulhu RPG with myself, Sam, Sean Wallace, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was a completely different sort of thing. I, instead of playing this sort of like, I always play like a warrior, lawful good sort of warrior type. I was this sort of older, like ex-army guy who was he was old, so I didn't have this sort of kind of, I wasn't sort of like super strong or anything. I was just like this old retired army guy who was a bit posh and liked history and stuff. And, we had these really random characters with these random backgrounds who, if you started understanding things too much, then you started going mad. And I love that mechanic where it's just like, too much, and when you start knowing too much, you go mad. I got to the point at the end of fighting trying to basically banish the thing at the end. I went mad. Sean's character went mad. The only reason that we won that game or we beat it was because I think Sam's character, he walked off, something happened, or he kind of went mad, or something happened, and one of his traits was, I don't give a fuck anymore, and it was all about self-preservation and stuff. And he argued at the end, it says, well, if it's all about self-preservation and stuff, me letting this thing happen wouldn't be in my interest, therefore I should still concentrate on the spell. Even if I don't give a shit about these people around me, I should still do that. And he agreed. It was only because of that last thing. I was out. I couldn't do anything. It was going to be a complete kill. All of us were going to be gone. But he managed to argue around Ben to say, well, that's what I would do. And he's like, all right, fair dues. And he let him do it. And it was great. It was a really good sort of.
Yeah, well, that is classic Call of Cthulhu and Lovecraft, where basically your fighting ability is far less important than running away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or knowing when to duck.
No one cares about handgun skill. People care about his library.
Oh, stuttering out there, Pete.
Sorry,
what did you say there, Pete? You stuttered out. We didn't hear you. Something about library.
So combat ability is of no importance in Call of Cthulhu. What matters is your library ability and run.
Yeah, but even then, it's like you don't want to learn anything and stuff. It's like in my mind, I was like rolling all these good dice, and they're like, oh, you don't want to roll those, and it's like because as soon as you start understanding things, you get sort of like tokens to make your madness increases, and you're just like, oh no, okay, and it's just like right, this is the way it is.
Yeah, you always want a really, really, really high sanity in Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah,
a little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Yeah. So I've got to think about talking about games. I've got to sort of think about what I'm going to bring back for me and my brother to play and stuff. So I'm going to bring back the Song of Ice and Fire tabletop game, which is awesome, by the way. If anybody's not played it, easily one of the best sort of like tabletop games out there. The only issue it has is it's not very. It's supported because it's got its own app and they do updates and things like that. Because it's Cool Minis or not, they've got other board games and things. I don't think they focus on it as much as sort of maybe Warhammer would focus on Warhammer and stuff like that. So there's a few balance issues which are annoying me. Like every week, I play Sam at it and he beats me every week with the same faction, and it's like they're broken. They're so broken. If you the Greyjoys, the songwriter, they're just really super broken at this moment in time, and it's so hard to beat them. And it's just like the only last week where I just about I didn't win, but I got as close to winning as I've ever been, and it was simply because I had to sort of tailor my list to sort of kind of deal with their brokenness, and he didn't use the thing that he always uses. Like there's a thing where it brings back a dead unit every time, when it dies, and that's pretty hard to deal with. But it's a good game, really good game. So I'll bring that back with me. I'm going to bring back the Resistance, which is, for those who don't know, is like a it's like a
social game.
Yeah, it's like a social game. Yeah, it's kind of like Mafia or Werewolf, and you've got to sort of like figure out who the spies are. That's really good. Like with a load of people, especially if they've had a few drinks. And so I'm going to bring that back with me, and I'm going to bring back potentially Company of Heroes board game I got from Kickstarter recently and stuff, because me and my bro quite like that. So bring that, and obviously Axis and Allies, because it's a staple game to play at Christmas at my house, is to play Axis and Allies and stuff. So lots of games to be played over the next week and stuff for me, I think. So looking forward to that. Pure board games for Matt. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be good. Okay. We've been going for nearly an hour and a half now. Before we leave, is there anything is there any New Year's resolutions or anything that you've got planned for 2022?
Okay. Fingers crossed, Omicron and everything permitting, I will be going to Wales Comic Con in April, start of April, and I'm going to put in to interview Bruce Campbell.
Really?
Cool.
Bruce Campbell is coming to Wales Comic Con. Now, the onus is put on the journalist to set up their own interview, so I'm going, well, I've managed to find some contact details, so fingers crossed, everything crossed, I'm going to try and interview Bruce Campbell.
Groovy.
And then at the end of April is going to be the Sci-Fi Weekender in Great Yarmouth. And now it was supposed to go ahead in November. COVID, everything meant, no, it said, they just couldn't run it, so basically it's been putting it back until this April. So fingers crossed we get to go ahead.
Great Yarmouth, it's a fair trek. Like it's 5 hours. You're easily from where I am and stuff. Manchester,
it's about 2 hours for me, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
No, I'm not planning anything physical. I'm going to try and. I've had a bit of a rough year for doing all sorts of things. So I'm going to try and get back on to my writing and stuff like that, and just get my head together a bit and see if I can actually finish something and try and put it up on Kindle this year, I think.
What's the aim? So have you got anything in the pipeline at the minute?
I've got 2 or 3 sort of things from Nano and other stuff that I kind of got 2/3 of the way through. So I'm going to be doing some weeding through over sort of January, February time and figuring out what I want to focus on, then set myself some deadlines to try and disentangle some crap and make it work and finish.
See, that's it though. I've always told I'd love to do something like that. I just don't have I don't think I've got the sticking power for it. It does take a lot of sort of willpower and discipline to sort of write. So I don't envy you.
I just figure I've been telling myself I should, and I'm going to for so long. It's time to do it.
Yeah. Why not? And it's great that, like, in Amazon you can self-publish now and stuff.
Yeah.
You can, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, when you do, let us know.
Hey, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using a couple of USB to readers. Don't worry.
Yeah, cool beans. Awesome. Yeah, sounds good.
But you won't be spell checking.
I will not be spell checking. Oh no. That's to get the dyslexic to spell check for you is a bad idea. It's not going to happen. I'm not even going to go on to that one and stuff. I was talking about spell checking, but then I was like, I was going to mention the article I wrote about Henry Cavill and the Graham Norton thing.
No,
but,
don't do it.
That was another, let's say, another sort of, that's another worm, can of worms.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave that for
Don't go there.
Another time and stuff like that. I might get called a snowflake again, but yeah.
Keep your foot off the third rail, dude.
Okay, we'll leave it there then for now. It's been quite a vigorous chat about numerous things. It's been very good. Thanks to everybody who's been watching and for all the comments from Mr. Wilson and Mr. Jackson. Much appreciated, chaps. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. This is going to be our last podcast for 2021. Sorry, maybe for 2022 as well. What's going to happen? But thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have yourselves an amazing Christmas. Have yourselves an amazing New Year. I hope you play many games, watch some awesome stuff on TV, spend some great time with your family, and just have a really amazing remainder of 2021. And we will catch you all in 2022. So for tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Peter Ray Allison.
Good night, everyone.
I'm Mark Canty.
Each other.
Sorry, Pete. I cut you off there. What did you say?
Let's look after each other. Yeah.
And Mark Canty.
Good evening, everybody. Hope glad for coming along, and see you on the flip side.
Yep. Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy
Merry
New
Christmas.
Year.
Take care.
Bye.
Happy New Year.